Okay, so we'll continue on the story since it's morning. And we're gonna continue on the adventures of Spider. So here we go. Haven't I already told you that Spider was not stupid? He guessed exactly what Leopard would do, and so he took some time to think how he should handle the matter. First, he went to the river and caught some fish left in the traps by people. Then he went to a farm and ate a cassava. For it is the custom that a hungry man can help himself to as much food as he needs, and no one will mind. When he had enough to eat, Spider spent the afternoon looking for all his friends. He stayed away from his house as long as he could. Finally, it began to get dark. The sky filled with clouds, and once again the rain began to fall. At last, Spider had to go home. So he went up the path that led past the river and near his little house made of banana leaves. Spider looked at the earth to see if Leopard had left any tracks. He listened to see if Leopard made any sound. He saw nothing, and he heard nothing. Still, he knew the ways of Leopard, and he decided to try something else. So he kept walking down the path, humming to himself, just as though he were thinking of nothing. Suddenly he cried out, "Ho! My banana leaf house!" Sorry if my voice sounds like Mickey Mouse. But I love that character anyway from Walt Disney. He's my favorite, and he's so cute. So here we go. Nobody answered. Everything was silent. Spider walked a little nearer. Still there was silence. Nobody said anything. "That's funny," said Spider loudly. My little house always answers me when I call her. I wonder what is wrong." Once again, with all his might, he shouted, "Oh, my banana leaf house! Oh, my banana leaf house! How are you?" "Yeah." And from deep inside the house came a small, high voice. I am fine, Mr. Spider. Come on in." Then Spider burst out laughing. "Now I know where you are, Mr. Leopard, and you shall never catch me," he said, and with that he ran as quick as a flash through the window and up to the highest corner of the ceiling. Leopard could not catch him, although he tried and tried. Spider was warm and dry and safe in the ceiling. I suppose that is why he decided to live here. I suppose that is the reason why he decided to live here, and he is living there still. And here. It's like a chapter book if you ask me. So it's how Spider got a bald head. I have already told you. Let's continue this. I have already told you, and you have already seen for yourselves. I know that Spider was very full of mischief. He was often naughty and always greedy, but sometimes in the bottom of his little heart he wanted very much to be good. Good, said it. He wanted to be kind, and he wanted to help someone. He tried so hard, but his appetite almost always got in the way. In fact, that is why Spider had a bald head to this day. Would you like to hear how it got that way for that day? Yeah, sure. So one morning, Spider awoke early in his little leaf house beside the small river. The sun was bright, and the sky was as clear as a bell. Spider smelled the good breakfast his wife Aso was cooking. He felt good all over. He wanted to do something to help someone. Who could it be? Quite suddenly, he remembered his old mother-in-law. Of course, he would help the old lady plant her rice. It must be hard for her to walk through the forest on her farm every day carrying her food on her head, he thought. Spider told Aso of his plan, and she was very happy. She gave Spider a special gift to take to her mother. Yeah. Yeah. That's so good of you, Spider. I'm so proud of you. Sorry about my cough. It's just a little loud. So it happened that Spider set off to the farm of his mother-in-law. It was a great distance, and as Spider walked, the sun grew hotter. He crossed the slim, long bridges that reached over the rivers and walked down the small pathways that cut between the tall grasses and climbed past the house of Pepperbird, who lives on a hill. When at last he reached the farm of his mother-in-law, he was already quite hungry. He found the old lady bent over the earth, planting seed. "Good morning, my mother," said Spider. "I have come to help you plant the rice." So's mother was overjoyed. She thanked Spider and showed him just where to start planting. "When we have finished," she said, "we shall have lunch. I know you are very fond of beans." "Beans, my son. Very fond of beans, my son. Very fond of beans, my son. And so I will cook the very best ones I have." And she took a great cooking pot and filled it with beans, and onions and peppers and tomatoes and meat. And then, although I don't like meat, sorry. Then she went to a small kitchen not far from where Spider was working and put the pot on a fire to cook. With that, she went to another part of the farm to work. For a long time, everything was just fine. Spider worked on one part of the farm, and the old lady worked on another part. After a time, the beans began to send out a wonderful smell. The longer they cooked, the better they smelled. The sharp, spicy smell rose up out of the pot and floated right across the field and into Spider's nose. As Spider tried not to notice it, he tried to look away from the big pot. He tried to face it in the other direction, but somehow he seemed to be getting closer and closer. In fact, each time Spider dug a hole and planted a seed, he seemed to take a step closer to the pot of beans. It almost looked like a little dance. Spider dug a hole, planted a seed, took a deep breath, and jumped sideways toward the pot. He tried ever so hard, but he couldn't stop himself. Finally, he stopped trying and simply ran over to the cooking pot. Spider's heart pounded. He looked around to make sure that no one was looking. He snatched his hat off and put some of the beans in it with a long spoon, and then he ate them. They were good. Once more he looked all around. No one was coming. Quickly he ladled the beans into his hat. He piled them higher and higher until the hat was almost full of boiling beans. Now in another part of the land not very far away, many people were planting rice. Suddenly a flock of rice birds flew down upon the field and began to steal away the seeds. The people shouted and threw stones at them. The big birds rose up in the air. They flew straight into the little kitchen. There stood Spider with his hat full of beans. Spider heard a great commotion. He saw a large number of birds flying around him. Just behind them came a crowd of people. What on earth could he do? What a disgrace to be caught with a hat full of beans. There was no time to hide them, and there was no time to run away. So Spider threw his hat on his head, and, of course, you can guess what happened. The beans began to burn. Spider started to shake his head. He jumped around and ran around in a circle. All the time the beans got hotter and hotter. And the hotter they got, the harder Spider shook his head, and the higher he jumped, and the faster he ran. The people all noticed the way Spider was acting, and asked him what was the matter with him. "I'm doing the hat shaking dance," shouted Spider. Well, I'm doing the hat-shaking dance, shouted Spider, and his head moved faster and faster. I must go to my father's village, for it is the time of hat-shaking festival. What is that? Asked the people, for they had never heard of the hat-shaking festival. The hat-shaking festival, the hat-shaking festival, cried Spider. It comes every year. I must run right away because my father will accept me. Expect me. My father will expect me. Not accept. Sorry. In fact. And Spider ran down the path that led into the forest. But all the people ran after him because they wanted to know all about the hat-shaking festival. All the time the beans were getting hotter and hotter. At last, Spider could stand it no longer. He snatched off his hat, and beans, onions, meat and peppers scattered everywhere. Everyone roared with laughter, for they saw what happened. Spider's head was as bald as an egg. Not a hair was left on it. Spider was so ashamed that he asked the grass to open for him so that he might hide, and the grass took pity on him and hid him. That is the reason why Spider still likes to walk through grass, and even today he is still bald. How Spider helped a fisherman. In the village of Akim there was once a fisherman who worked very hard. Every morning he gathered his nets into his long boat or set his traps in the river. Sometimes, even at night, the fisherman went far out into the sea, and when he returned he mended his nets and cleaned his boat. Spider noticed how hard the fisherman worked, but he also noticed how many big fish the fisherman brought to his house each evening. And what a feast the fisherman's family had! Spider was determined to find a way to get some of the fish for himself, and so one day he went to see the fisherman and offered to help him. Okay. Now, of course, Spider did not intend to do any work. He thought he could play a trick on the fisherman and get all the fish he wanted without having to work at all. But the fisherman knew all about Spider. He knew that Spider-Man was greedy and lazy and always up to something. Yet when Spider asked if he could help him, the fisherman said, "Of course you can. I will be very glad to have you help, Spider." The people of Akim all laughed. "What a fool is the fisherman!" "Oh, what a fool is the fisherman!" They said. "Spider will take all the fish and the fisherman will do all the work." But the fisherman only smiled. Fisherman, yes, sorry. "You will see," he thought to himself. On the first morning when Spider came to help, the fisherman said to Spider-Man, Now let us discuss the way we will go about things. Someone has to do all the work. Someone has to do the work, and someone has to get tired. So we will take turns. One day you will be the one who gets tired, and I will do the work. And the next day I will be the one who gets tired, and you will do the work. Do not talk in long sentences, answered Spider. Only talk about what we will do today. Only talk about what we will do today. Well, very well, replied the fisherman. Today we will make traps to catch the fish. I will make the traps and you will get tired. I get tired? I get tired? Shouted Spider. Indeed not. I will make the traps and you will be the one who gets tired. For Spider hated to get tired more than anything. Well, very well, said the fisherman. If that is what pleases you, then that's okay. And he lay down on the ground, as he were very tired. While Spider made all the traps, the following day the fisherman said to Spider, "My friend, today we must set the traps in the river. Yesterday you made the traps and I got tired. Today we'll change around and I will set the traps in the river and you will get tired from me." shouted Spider, who hated to get tired and wanted to get some fish. I will set the traps myself and you will get tired. And so Spider set the traps in the water while the fisherman lay down on the bank. Spider bent over for a long time, putting the traps deep in the water. After a while, his back began to ache. All the while the fisherman lay on the bank, he watched Spider working. And while he watched, he moaned and groaned and rubbed his head and rolled about as though he were very tired. Just like how I said to the spider, right, you guys? Just like Spider-Man, if you ask me. My, oh my, oh my. My, oh my, oh my, he cried. I'm so tired. And then the fisherman went to sleep. Well, that's good. Well, on the third day, the fisherman said to Spider, surely we must have a change today. It is only fair. I shall collect the fish from the traps, and you will be the one who gets tired. Now, you know, Spider was planning all along to eat some of the fish. Do you think I'm a fool? He shouted. What makes you think I want to get tired? You will get tired, and I will collect the fish. If you insist, answered the fisherman. And he lay down on the bank of a river again. When the people of Akum walked past the river, they saw Spider busily gathering fish and the fisherman lying on the bank, looking very tired. He moaned and groaned even louder than the day before, but this time he did not go to sleep. He kept his eyes fastened on Spider. So poor Spider did not get any fish at all. On the final day, the fisherman said to Spider, today I really mean what I say. I will take the fish to the market and you will get tired. Nonsense, said Spider. I will never agree to get tired. I will carry the fish to market and you will get tired. And so it was, even up to the last day. Spider carried all the fish to market. The fisherman walked behind him, huffing and puffing, as though he were indeed very tired. When they reached the market, Spider put the fish in a big pile. Then the fisherman sat down beside them. When people came to buy, they paid the fisherman. For was he not the only fisherman? And did not the fish belong to him? When all the fish were gone, the fisherman gave Spider 4 coins. Four coins, one for each day he had worked. Spider saw that he had been tricked instead of tricking the fisherman. He had very little of the money and none of the fish. At first he was angry. That means you're short-tempered. And then he was in the habit of doing. He simply burst out laughing at himself. Next time I will be the winner, he said, and he went merrily back to his little house among the banana leaves. One who plays tricks himself may be tricked if he's too greedy. And we're gonna pause there, and we'll continue on this later, okay?